and welcome back to Issues in Education, ISTE 2019. We're coming to you live from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I'm Bob Dillon. I'm here with Dan Kreiness, who's here as an administrator and a learner this week. Dan, welcome to Issues in Education.
Thank you very much.
You bet. So what are you seeing? You're here on your third time at ISTE.
Yeah.
What are you seeing that's different than the first time you were here?
Well, I think that something that's trending, is not to focus on the actual tech tools themselves, but strategies for not just implementing them for as an instructional, strategy.
Yep.
But to use them to push student creation and student voice. And I actually just did an episode on my show recently where we were talking about EdTech Trends.
Yeah.
And it seems like it's really picking up steam with educational technology coaches and tech directors, where it's less about using tech tools for content consumption and more about creation.
Yeah, which is great. You talked a little bit about your podcast. Why don't we name that and talk about that? We might as well make sure we get that in there.
I'm the host of the Leader of Learning podcast, where mostly we focus on leadership and bringing out that aspect of leadership that says, anyone can be a leader of learning regardless of your role or your title in your building or in your district, and just focusing on lots of different topics and bringing on guests who are leaders of learning in specific areas of education.
Yeah, I think it's great. One of the things I'm seeing with podcasting, it really hits micro audiences, right? You're not going to hit the world, but there's going to be a lot of people you didn't know that were listening. I think that's our hope with education too, is to make sure that a variety of people are just hearing from educators that they may not know of, may have good ideas. What's going on in your building that you're excited about? School's not even out yet for you.
That's true. Yeah, we have a few more days to go this school year. Like I said, using technology for content creation, and I think what we've been rolling out is, we've had some Chromebooks, let's say, and devices for a couple of years, and now it's about how to really further the use of them to amplify student voices, and for me, it's more about finding ways for students to show what they know and what they're learning and how they're growing in the classroom outside of the box, outside of a written essay or even, and nothing against the Google Slides or any kind of presentation software, but outside of just a slide presentation. So bringing in things like making videos, making podcasts, are really, really important ways. Depending on what you feel about learning styles, I still believe that students need a variety of creative outlets to share what they know. Yeah,
and sometimes we just need to get out of the way. I think so much of what we do is we over-engineer education when we can just get out of the way of kids and let them natural curiosity come out and the work that we know that they can do. And like you said, let them show what they know. One of the things I talk about with learning spaces, how do we get kids to draw and sketch and get up on whiteboards and really show off what they're doing? I think all of that fits together. So what else are you seeing here at ISTE? You talk about being your third, but what's surprising you about this year's conference?
I think that you kind of said it actually a minute ago. I think that one of the things that is really emerging, in addition to what I've already mentioned, where it's more about student creation, is student ownership.
Okay.
Putting students in the driver's seat of their own learning. One of my favorite things at the ISTE conference, being that this is my third time here, is seeing the Ignite sessions. So little bite-sized presentations. And I just sat in the Ignites maybe an hour or two ago. It really is. And one of the things that I feel confident in saying was a theme among so many of them was that piece about, let's make sure that student is the one driving and owning their own learning. It's not about the teacher as the sage on the stage anymore, but really guiding students from the side and facilitating their learning. Not about the adult in the room.
Yeah, I've seen more students here than I think in the past too, and I think that's a great trend, and I hope that continues. I know it's hard as an educator to bring your kids here. You kind of sacrifice your conference experience, but there's value in looking around and knowing why we're doing the work we're doing. And so I know that as a principal and as a middle school principal for 15 years, being able to say I was anchored back to what really mattered with the kids, that went a long way. So any final advice, anything you'd like to tell the audience about, like, hey, here's what I'm seeing, here's what I love, check this out. What else would you like to tell folks?
I guess one of the things that that impacts me, helps me, and I think that all educators should do if they haven't done yet is to really build connections. Whether it's through social media and their virtual connections, or live and in person and face to face. We hadn't met before, but now I figure this is probably not the last time we'll see or hear from each other, and it's just so powerful. And I think the bottom line is that education, just like so many things at this point, doesn't need to happen in a bubble, in isolation. Whether it's in your school and you're stepping out of your classroom and seeing what's happening in other rooms, which I know is sometimes difficult for teachers, but just kind of getting out of that mindset and saying, I need to meet people, I need to see what's happening outside of my classroom, outside of my school. And so it may sound simple, but sometimes it's not. And all the technology that's around us and the devices and the tools, it might not mean much if people aren't taking that step to really find out what's happening out there.
Yeah, for me, just use a place to connect. It's also a place to make sure that I continue to be idea rich. I think that's really important. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
It's great to have Dan on, and this has been Issues in Education, ISTE 19, here from Philadelphia.